Thanks for joining us. We begin following the intensive diplomacy by Israel. Now both Washington and London expressed confidence that the Iranian regime was responsible for Thursday's drone attack on an oil tanker with loose ties to Israel. That attack killed 2 crew members from the UK and Romania. Now, I-24 News senior international correspondent Owen Alterman has more on the incident.
The U.S. military aboard the Israeli-managed ship hit off the coast of Oman, investigating what happened and there to offer help. But after the attack, the Israeli government wants more than just a helping hand. It wants action. Action against Iran.
Iran's bullying is dangerous, not only to Israel, but also harms global interests, the freedom of navigation, and international trade. Intelligence evidence of that exists, and we expect the international community to clarify to the Iranian regime that it has made a big mistake.
The ship Mercer Street was making its way through the Arabian Sea Thursday when it was struck. 2 crew members, a Briton and a Romanian, were killed. The U.S. military has said indications are of a drone attack. The British government said Sunday it believes Iran is the culprit. Iran has denied involvement.
The regime occupying Jerusalem has brought with it insecurity, violence, terror, and war wherever it has gone. And for this reason, those responsible are those who have brought this regime to the region in the first place.
It will be tough to convince the U.S. and European countries to take real action against Iran. Many may not see an attack like Thursday's as an attack on them. And they're more worried about limiting, as they see it, Iran's nuclear program.
The ball remains in Iran's court, and we will see if they're prepared to make the decisions necessary to come back into compliance.
Israel is claiming the Mercer Street strike is an attack on the international order. Outside of Israel, this may well just be seen as an attack on Israel.
I'm joined in the studio by our defense correspondent Daniel Tzemach, looking at this incident now, still making news today. The big development now that both Washington and we heard Secretary of State Blinken and Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab also say now they have high confidence. And apparently in response to all the Israeli intelligence, the diplomacy leveled at them. But reports indicate it's all based on Israel wanting a green light to launch some sort of retaliation. What do we know about this issue now? How sensitive this is being seen by Israel?
Right. So as far as Israel is concerned, we've seen different moves being made in the last 24 hours. Of course, you have Israeli leaders applauding the United States and the UK for standing quite clearly and saying that Iran is responsible, although Iran is, of course, denying it. We also saw some high-profile military consultations that were taking place yesterday between the Israeli IDF Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi, and his British counterpart. That happened yesterday evening. And we also know, of course, that Israeli media is reporting that there are certain elements within the British diplomatic field that are actually giving Israel the right to make its own considerations. Now, we do know that Israel, of course, has said time and time again that it will do everything it deems necessary in order to defend itself, especially in light of Iran, but also in general. And now we're seeing a little bit more traction in international media, some Kuwaiti sources saying that Israel has even established some sort of list of Iranian targets that, again, allegedly the United States and Great Britain have given the green light for. We know that Israel, of course, is a very detailed sort of bank of targets, whether it's here in the region, whether it has to do with Iranian assets abroad. Of course, we've seen many reports, David, that we've discussed in the past. Wall Street Journal report from a couple months ago listing several different strikes by Israel in the maritime sphere. So there's no question that Israel is maneuvering and trying to understand exactly how to move forward, but it does appear as though there is likely to be some sort of response, at least if you're seeing that the UK and the United States are giving the go-ahead.
Yeah, recognizing at this point this at least was a sanctioned attack by the Iranian government on international shipping. Daniel Tzemach, thanks for breaking that down for us.
But I think it's more likely we're going to end up, if we end up in a war, a real shooting war with a major power. I'm Satan reincarnated. But I think it's more likely we're going to end up, if we end up in a war, a real shooting war with a major power. I'm Satan reincarnated. I'm Satan reincarnated. I'm Satan reincarnated. I'm Satan reincarnated.